In the year 2000, there was this thing called Y2K.
Almost everyone is preparing for the worst. Potential Y2K computer crashes top the list.
Computers were going to register as 1900 instead of the year 2000, and it was going to cause all kinds of mass chaos and panic. Planes were going to fall out of the sky. Records were going to get deleted.
Dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria.
Adults had essentially told me that the world was going to end, and even though I was skeptical, the thought of not being able to play StarCraft anymore was enough to scare me. It turned out it was completely bullshit. I was actually convinced that it was an ad for Kia.
See your Kia dealer, where Y2K really means yes to Kia, and you can get up to $2,000 cash back on the few 99 Sophias left during the Yes to Kia clearance event going on now.
At the time, I was only 13. I hadn't entered the workforce yet. When I got older and was able to enter the workforce, there was this propensity for older cooks to constantly talk crap on my generation. We were all just a bunch of entitled, narcissistic jerks with our participation trophies and our avocado toast.
Exactly in what area of technology are you proficient?
Snapchat, Pinterest, Instagram, Vine, Twitter.
I'm surprised you didn't say Facebook.
That's for old people, like my parents.
Just gonna destroy the workplace. Does any of that sound familiar to you as a Gen Z? If you're a Gen Z watching this, does any of that sound familiar? It's because they're doing the same thing now.
Wow, the energy is weird here. Okay, I don't have much experience, but I think a VP role will suffice. I'll need 4 days off a week because I have anxiety and lower back pain brought on by childhood trauma. My parents were racist.
Going through and seeing this happen in real time, I'm just dumbfounded at how the memory loss in how millennials were treated entering the workforce seems to be there. And I mean, even Gen X, you go back and look at Gen X, they were called slackers. Like, we're treated like crap. Gen X was treated like crap. And I'm sure boomers, they just thought everybody was a bunch of hippies. Every younger generation, there seems to be this habit of accusing them of being narcissistic, entitled, lazy, soft, emotional. They want social change. But did we ever take a step back and wonder if every single generation is doing this, that maybe there's something wrong with how the world is working fundamentally? If every single generation grows up and they see how fucked up the world is, maybe the world's actually fucked up. But this isn't actually about millennials. It's about Gen Z. The reason why I bring up the millennial thing is because generational bias really isn't new. Older cooks are now talking about the Gen Z apocalypse the same way they talked about us when millennials entered the workforce. Coming onto the cook line with their feelings and their ideas and their slang that nobody understands. The fact of the matter is that Gen Z is here to stay, and instead of older generations being crybaby pee pants about it, they need to take a step back, look inwards, and ask themselves what they can do to be a better leader and to bring people up. Iron sharpens iron. There's always going to be somebody that knows something that you don't know. Sometimes those people may not even have as much experience as you. Just because you're older and just because you have the physical experience, it doesn't make you smarter. It doesn't make you better than anybody else. We all bring different life experiences to the table. So I get really annoyed when I'm online and I see gatekeeping BS for Gen Z, because it reminds me of how much crap millennials had to go through when we entered the workforce. It's not so much that Gen Z is soft, but maybe Gen Z feels like they shouldn't have to hide who they are at their core and hide their emotions. Maybe work shouldn't actually be a prison. It should be something that we enjoy doing and be part of our lives. We essentially spend a third of our life there. If you do feel like work has sucked the life out of you, though, I actually have a new design in my shop where you can show that off. Link is in the pinned comments down below. The two main things that Gen Z complains about is pay and diversity and inclusion. But did we ever take a step back and actually ask ourselves if they're correct? I think they are. I think they're totally right. I think that you shouldn't really have to hide who you are at work. Especially if you're in the cook industry, especially, you're already working 55, 60 hours in some places. The last thing you want is to have to pretend to be something that you're not. Pretend to be somebody else. Not express yourself. Like, yeah, work isn't there to make friends, right? But that doesn't mean that it has to be this, like, shitty, crappy place where we work. I'm actually on the side of Gen Z, and I believe that part of being a good leader is being able to adapt to change. You're going to get older, and eventually you're going to get replaced. That's just how the world works. We embrace change all the time. And if you want proof of this, here's a picture of some aspects. These were popular at one time. I'm trying to shine a light on generational bias, and hopefully it will stifle it from happening in the future, because Gen Alpha is going to be a thing. Gen Z is going to be in my place in the future. Millennials are going to be the new Gen X. We're going to be the older generation. We're going to be within a decade or so of retirement. As leaders, we need to be able to adapt to change. Change can come in many forms. And in looking inwards and trying to figure out how we can change as individuals, we also grow, and then we can pass that information on to the next generation. And we can all get better together. Iron sharpens iron, right? I mean, I have 18 years of experience. There's a lot of things that I know, and in trying to give that information, I started a YouTube channel. So if you want that kind of information, subscribe to the channel and you get red flags for job, to which jobs to avoid. You get tips on how to ace interview questions. And as the channel grows, there's just going to be more and more information available. I'm going to do live streams in the future. That's what I'm trying to offer as a leader. But the other part of this is that even though I have 18 years experience, like I've never worked in the French Laundry, I've never been overseas. There's a lot of really, really nice restaurants that I've never worked in. I've got knife skills, but I don't have like Michelin star level knife skills. There's things that I'm learning. There's new people that I train that have a different way of looking at something. My girlfriend was talking to me a while back, and she told me this story about how perspective can play a big role in how we see the world. And if there's a boat in the water, right, and a bird is looking down at the boat, and a fish is looking up at the boat, they might argue about what the boat actually looks like, because neither one can see it from the other person's perspective. But if you get the perspective of the bird and the fish, you're able to get a fuller picture of the boat. In this case, the boat would be the world or the job. We need to be able to take a step back, look inwards, and have an open mind when we talk to people, especially younger people. When Gen Z is pushing for diversity and inclusion, better pay, better work environments, we need to really seriously consider that they could be right and take a look at the standards and practices that we have in place. Maybe we don't need to be doing things the way that we're currently doing them. Maybe we don't have to be burnt out, which, by the way, if you're burnt out, I'll leave a card up here all about burnout and cooks, how to avoid it, and different things like that. Even if you're not a cook, burnout is something that it just plagues the industry. It plagues not just the industry, but it plagues adults in general. We push ourselves too hard. So check that out if you're interested. If you're new to the restaurant industry and you're looking to get into cooking, you're looking for a restaurant in particular, I have a really good video on red flags. It should be popping up right now. Go ahead and check that out. And make sure that when you are applying for a job that you take these red flags into account. Otherwise, you guys have an awesome day, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.